Hello, this is Matt from Minimum Guitars, and I really need a haircut. There we go. Don't read too much into that. Once a year is about my standard rate anyway. So here I've got a Squier Stratocaster, which belongs to a friend of mine, which I'm going to bring back to life a little bit. The neck is long gone. He put this black scratch plate on here and carved this logo in here. It says Fondle. That was the name of his band at the time. There's a bit of a story behind this. In 2013, I gave him a lift to pick up his other Strat from a guitar tech who'd done a setup for him. And at the same time, he brought this along to drop off with the guy and get him to fix it up, put a new neck on, set it up, you know, that kind of stuff. For whatever reason, though, over the years, he lost contact with the guy and had just kind of written it off. He considered it sort of lost to the mists of time. Until very recently, I saw it for sale on Gumtree and immediately recognised it. Oh, that's Tim's guitar. You know, it's pretty distinctive looking. No neck, black scratch plate, Fondle scraped into it. I was like, that's Tim's guitar, definitely. So I messaged the guy and said, that's my mate's guitar. And he come and let me just take it. He didn't make me buy it off him, which was nice. But unfortunately, at some point, he'd had a go at sanding off the logo and he found that the scratches go too deep. Because sanding it off, you'd have to go right the way through all of the paint. Because this is a candy apple finish, so it's like a silver sparkly layer of paint on the bottom, then a coat of translucent red, and then a clear coat over the top. So you can't patch repair it, you know, it's just impossible. So you'd have to completely refinish it or cover this up with something else. I did suggest a couple of ideas of how to refinish it, but Tim quite wants to try and get it back to how it was when he had it. So what I'm going to try and do first is just see if I can get rid of some of these sanding marks and hope that they're just in the clear coat. Because if I go through the red, obviously that's the end of it. So that's definitely been done with an orbital sander. You can see the little swirly marks. So I'm going to try and see if we can get it looking a little bit nicer. I shouldn't be able to make it look any worse anyway. I'm going to take the bridge off just to get it out of the way, I think. Luckily, it's mostly just over the logo, and Tim wants to keep the logo, and he's also given me a little bit of license to embellish it as well. So there you go, you can see it's still quite milky, but I've gotten rid of all of the marks from the orbital sander, so now it's just a case of building it back up to a gloss. There's quite a significant blemish here from where he's gone through the finish, but you know, just gonna have to live with that, I think. Yeah, well, that's come up really nice, as near as damn it anyway. It's certainly better than before, and it's pretty much back to the original gloss. but at a glance it looks like one uniform sort of finish now. I'm going to talk to Tim and see if he wants me to try and incorporate this blemish into the L, and then perhaps we could cross hatch in the letters so that just disappears underneath the writing. But in terms of the red and the finish, we've got it back to a better place now. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. So aside from being cleaned up, that's about it for the body. So here's the neck I'm going to use. You may recognise it. It's a little bit fat for a Strat, said Matt. And it's a little bit dinged up, so I'm going to completely give it a rub down. This neck has been definishized now. I've sanded it down to 120. Still a long way to go on that. It's quite smooth, but obviously I'll go finer than that. But before I do the finish sanding, I'm going to do a fret level so that any dings and scrapes that may occur as a result of that can just get sanded out with the rest of it. Now you may recall this neck from my other video that I replaced the truss rod nut in here, so now it's got a working truss rod and it's perfectly flat. So that's a good place to start. To finish the neck, I'm going to have a go at doing a wipe-on poly, which is just thin polyurethane lacquer that you apply with a rag. You can get it pre-made, but I'm going to make my own because it's just normal polyurethane lacquer, which in England is just called varnish, and white spirit. It's about a 50-50 mix, so I'm going to use just whatever's left in this tin and then match it roughly on the side with the white spirit. Well, that's that. So now I'll put in, obviously I've got to take account for the taper in the jar. That's about there. About half and half. Doesn't have to be exact, probably the thinner the better for me doing this for the first time, because it'll be more forgiving hopefully. And just shake it up. Does look quite dark. It's darker than I thought it would be. What I will do though, I guess, is test it. Well, it gives it a slight tint, but I reckon that's fine. Bottoms up. This morning actually I managed to catch Jerry Rosa's live stream, and because I was just doing this today anyway, I asked him, what do you think of wipe on poly? And he was like, well, I don't really like it, because he didn't know that I was using it on an electric guitar neck, because he said he doesn't think it gets hard enough, so it doesn't sound very nice. So he might have been thinking about using it on an acoustic guitar top, whereas because I'm just using it on an electric guitar neck, that kind of thing isn't as crucial, I don't think. But Brad Angrove, the guy who I saw do this first, he's used it on necks, and there's a few other guys that have put it on necks and seem to have a decent result out of it. To me it seems like the easiest method of getting a glossy neck when you've got sort of simple equipment. So I've built up quite a few coats of lacquer on this now. Just going to knock down the sort of application marks. This is just 1500 sandpaper. Doesn't need much at all. So I don't think the idea with it is to really heavily buff it out, you know, with abrasive polishes. So I'm just going to squirt it with some of this. Oh, yeah, that's really smooth. That's like a glass tabletop. If I turn the ISO down on the camera, go to mood lighting, you might see, there you go. You can see the kind of glint in it there. Let there be light. So yeah, it's really smooth. Really pleased with that. That's ostensibly that. So the next stage of this, bit of a surprise, I've got a custom logo for the headstock. Here you go. So here's the transfers. As you can see, it says Fondle in the Fender writing, so sort of at a glance it looks like it says Fender. Underneath it just says refurbished in Bristol, because that's where I am, and then it says custom Minim guitars there. So, you know, that's like a little self-indulgence. This is a water slide decal, which I've never done before, so this will be exciting. That's why I got two, in case I cock it up. Looks a lot more legit when there's machine heads on there. Right. Got a lovely Squier neck plate there. Oh, it's a bit grubby on the back though. Ugh, what is that? I don't want to put that back on there. $15mm. What a nice round number. The original holes actually weren't that far off where they need to be, but you know, they have to go where they need to go. Once this is on here, there'll be a little bit of wiggle room so that I can make sure the neck is pointing at the bridge. There we go. It's a guitar again. And that's a pretty solid connection. It looks level. You know, it remains to be seen if I need to put a shim in there, but you know, that's a regular thing anyway. Well, that's the first note that's been played on this guitar in many, many years. The intonations can be completely wrong, obviously, because the neck's from a completely different guitar. Well, it's from a different Squier. You may need to sort of bodge the neck a little bit. That can be worked out once I've got the strings on. I did mention that Tim put this black scratch plate on himself, so the original one was white. The original back plate is long gone, but I've got a black one here, spare black one, which I'll pop on there. I need to replace where the screws go, but if you line up these front two, then the block is in exactly the right place. So I'll fill in the rest of the holes and then drill some new ones. So once this has all had its final setup, then that can go on the back, and then it'll be a complete, you know, a complete do-up then. Yeah, let's fire it up then. I'm like exactly too far away. Is that on overdrive? No, it's not. Well, I think that's about it for this video. The repair on the body that's alright. I mean, it looks like a logo that's been scratched in there, but it's tidier than it was before. It's got a neck, which is novel. Remains to be seen if this, what's it called, wipe on poly finish on the neck is going to be a winner or not. See what Tim reckons. He did say he wanted a glossy neck though, so we'll see what he likes about this one first, and if he doesn't like it, then we'll try something else. But yeah, it looks good. I'm happy with how that turned out. Happy with how the headstock has turned out. So yeah, I'll draw a line under it for now. Maybe I should get some WD-40 on this chair. I wonder if that'll help. Didn't really, did it? It sort of has. Thanks to everyone who's been liking and subscribing in the meantime while I've not been uploading anything. So that's quite cool. And thanks for watching. Cheers!